And now to Moscow, where an intensifying crackdown by the Putin regime is underway against any forms of dissent. Today, special correspondent Ryan Chilcote was in the newsroom of a leading light of independent media in Russia, now silenced by the Kremlin.
It was an editorial meeting like none ever in the history of Echo Moskwy. The entire staff, some who'd rushed in from maternity leave, others at home self-isolating, many distraught, gathering to listen to their editor-in-chief announce that Russia's last independent radio station has been taken off the air.
The political climate has changed. Russia's fighting a neighboring country. We effectively have military censorship and martial law, or at least martial law for the media. We've been presenting a little different picture than state media. There's only supposed to be one picture.
For 32 years, Echo Moskwy has been the go-to radio station for millions of Russians, a must-do media for the world's biggest newsmakers. Echo Moskwy isn't the only one. This week, prosecutors demanded access be restricted to the country's last independent TV channel, TV Rain. The decision came just as the channel was planning on screening a documentary about their own turbulent history. Instead, TV Rain signed off with a bang, broadcasting Swan Lake, a joke nearly every Russian will get. That's what state TV aired here in 1991 during the coup, an event that heralded the end of the Soviet Union. That's not to say views the Kremlin may find unsavory aren't making their way onto the Kremlin's more loyal news channels from time to time. Like this unscripted moment when an analyst, alongside an anxious anchor, proposed a toast to the death of Russia's stock market that sanctions sent plummeting. The government has asked Google to remove Echo Moskwy's YouTube channel. Echo has appealed. Off the airways, but not out of options.
I don't think we'll get back on the radio, even though we'll fight this in the courts. But there's still social media, there's still Google, and we still have USB sticks you can put recordings on.
Tatiana Felgenhauer has worked at Echo for 18 years, as the channel went head-to-head with the Kremlin time and time again. What happened this time?
Putin happened. Vladimir Putin and the authorities, they just don't want free media, professional media. This voice of truth must be destroyed.
What happens next?
North Korea. I think this is our future. North Korea.
And Ryan joins me now from Moscow. So Ryan, you were telling us that at a time like this, a lot of information is flying around, whether it is right or wrong, people getting information wherever they can, rumors flying. What are people talking about?
Well, you heard the Echo Moskwy editor-in-chief talk about how, as far as he's concerned, martial law has been introduced in relation to the media. There are a lot of rumors right now that martial law in general could be imposed in this country as early as tomorrow. And they come from, believe it or not, a Ukrainian official. He came out and said that the Ukrainians have learned that the government in Russia is going to introduce martial law on Friday. That got a lot of people very, very concerned here, because martial law could mean things like the border getting closed. It could mean conscription. Russia has a professional army. Back in the days in the 90s when they had conscription, a lot of people were very concerned about serving in the military. And so I literally had, young male after young men effectively telling me, all I can think about right now is how to get out of the country. And the problem, Judy, the reason for all of this is because there's a trust deficit right now with the government, right? Most Russians did not expect Russia was going to invade Ukraine. They actually believed their government when their government said, of course we're not going to do that. Then it happened. Now they don't know what to believe.
So Ryan, separately, we know that today more sanctions were leveled by the West against Russian oligarchs and elites. But tell us what effect that has on people, ordinary people living there on the ground. What effect?
Well, the individual sanctions don't have a lot of effect on the individual Russians here. The things that we've seen affect the ruble, for example, are the sanctions on the central bank. Effectively, half of the country's reserves all of a sudden were unusable, untouchable by the central bank. So they couldn't intervene
to support the ruble. So the ruble slid by about a third. So those kind of things have had a dramatic effect. And there were days where we had people, lining up at cash machines and exchanging money into dollars for fear that the ruble could go down further. But really what is happening right now is we're seeing company after company, either because of the sanctions or voluntarily because they want to make a stand, international companies pulling out of Russia. And as they do that, that's creating all kinds of problems. So Apple Pay goes, Google goes, getting rid of some services. Boeing and Airbus saying we're not going to be providing certain parts in the future, which creates huge infrastructural problems.
So much to keep track of. Ryan Chilcote joining us tonight from Moscow. Ryan, thank you.